You may have met someone like this before. They were not the loudest person in the room. They did not dominate conversations, tell impressive stories, or try to entertain everyone. If anything, they spoke less than most people. Yet something unusual happened around them. People naturally lowered their voices. Conversations became more orderly. When they finally spoke, nobody interrupted. Nothing dramatic caused it. No one announced their importance. Still, the atmosphere shifted. You might have assumed they were powerful, or highly confident, or socially skilled. But sometimes, if you looked closely, they were just an ordinary person. No exceptional charisma, no obvious authority, and yet people treated them carefully, almost instinctively. This can feel confusing. Many people spend years trying to be more interesting, more expressive, more persuasive. They practice communication techniques, jokes, or storytelling. But respect rarely appears from performance alone. In fact, sometimes the harder someone tries to impress, the less seriously others take them. So the question quietly changes. Why do some people receive respect without asking for it? You might think respect comes from intelligence, status, or strong personality. Those can help, but they are not the first thing the human brain reads. Before understanding words, the brain interprets signals. Subtle patterns, pacing, reactions, emotional steadiness are processed faster than language. When someone moves calmly, responds without urgency, and does not compete for attention, other people's nervous systems relax around them. The mind senses predictability. Predictability becomes safety, and safety becomes respect. This is not conscious. People rarely decide, I will respect this person now. Instead, they feel a quiet certainty. They do not need to defend themselves socially. They do not feel pressured to perform. In response, they naturally behave more politely. And in many Japanese social environments, presence matters more than performance. Speaking perfectly is less important than behaving steadily. A person who remains composed, listens fully, and reacts proportionally is often perceived as trustworthy even before their abilities are known. The reason is simple. Human beings constantly evaluate social risk. Without realizing it, we ask, will this person react unpredictably? Will they embarrass me? Will they create tension? When the answer seems no, the body relaxes. Respect follows that relaxation. This means you do not need to become louder or more dominant. In fact, dominance can create the opposite effect. People comply outwardly but withdraw internally. Real respect is different. It is voluntary attention. You can experiment with a small change. Slow your movements slightly. When someone finishes speaking, allow a brief pause before responding. Let your reactions arrive a moment later than your impulse. This does not make you distant. It makes you readable. You are giving other people time to feel stable around you. Over time, something subtle happens. Conversations no longer feel competitive. People share more comfortably. They interrupt you less often. Not because you demanded it, but because your presence quietly set the pace. You were never required to transform your personality. You were only trying to earn respect through effort, when respect often appears through steadiness. You do not need to be the most noticeable person in the room. Sometimes the person everyone trusts is simply the one who never creates emotional noise. In most conversations, people are not truly listening. They are waiting. You can notice this gently if you observe closely. While one person speaks, the other nods, but their eyes move slightly, their expression preparing. Inside, they are forming their reply. They are organizing their opinion, remembering a related story, or anticipating the moment they can speak next. The conversation becomes a sequence of turns rather than an exchange of attention, because speaking quickly feels intelligent. Responding immediately feels confident. Many people believe that if they pause too long, they will appear awkward or unsure. So they react fast, sometimes even finishing the other person's sentence in an attempt to show understanding. But the human brain interprets something different. A fast response often signals eagerness to assert. A slight pause signals control. When someone speaks and you answer instantly, your mind may believe you are being helpful or engaged. Yet the other person may feel subtly unheard. They sense you were preparing your message instead of receiving theirs. Even if your words are kind, the emotional impression becomes shallow. In Japan, brief silence inside conversation is normal. It is not treated as discomfort, but as respect. The pause allows the previous words to settle. It shows the listener is considering what was said, rather than reacting automatically. Interrupting, even politely, can be interpreted as emotional impatience. Not rudeness exactly, but a sign that the speaker's space was shortened. When this happens repeatedly, people unconsciously reduce what they share. You can change this with a very small adjustment. After someone finishes speaking, wait 2 seconds. Not dramatically, not with a stare, in just a natural moment. In that pause, you are not searching for impressive words. You are allowing your mind to absorb what you heard. Then respond simply. Also resist the urge to complete their sentences. Even if you know what they mean, allow them to finish. Completion removes their ownership of the thought. Letting them speak fully gives them psychological room. You may worry the silence will feel awkward. In reality, most people feel relieved. They sense they are not competing for conversational space. Your response feels more intentional because it is not immediate. Over time, others begin to treat your words differently. When you finally speak, they listen more carefully. Not because you demanded attention, but because your speech now appears chosen rather than automatic. The pause adds weight to ordinary sentences. You are not trying to become mysterious. You are becoming deliberate. The absence of urgency communicates emotional steadiness, and emotional steadiness is interpreted as maturity. You do not need more clever things to say. You only need to let your words arrive after you have actually heard the other person. You may have noticed a strange pattern in life. Sometimes a person can be very skilled, very intelligent, even highly accomplished, yet people still feel uneasy around them. They are respected for ability, but not trusted with presence. Conversations feel careful. Others hesitate before sharing opinions. There is a quiet tension that appears even when nothing negative is happening. Then you meet another person who may not be extraordinary in talent, but the atmosphere around them is different. People relax. Disagreements stay calm. Small mistakes do not escalate. Without trying, this person becomes someone others prefer to work with and rely on. The difference is not knowledge. It is emotional predictability. Human beings constantly monitor emotional reactions, not consciously, but instinctively. If someone responds with sudden irritation, visible frustration, or sharp defensiveness, others learn to protect themselves. They speak less freely, limit honesty, and interact cautiously. Even competence cannot overcome unpredictability. You might assume this means hiding emotions completely. It does not. It means regulating expression so others do not feel exposed to unexpected intensity. In Japanese culture, there is a long-standing distinction often described as hon and tatame. The inner feeling and the outward expression are not always identical in public settings. This is not dishonesty. It is social stability. Emotional reactions are moderated, so the shared environment remains steady. When someone becomes visibly upset quickly, other people's nervous systems shift into alertness. They anticipate escalation. Respect decreases not because anger is immoral, but because it feels unsafe. You can practice a simple adjustment when irritation appears. Slow your speech. Lower your volume slightly. Even if your thoughts remain strong, your delivery becomes measured. This small change prevents your reaction from overwhelming the moment. You are not suppressing yourself. You are giving your emotions a container. Interestingly, people often trust calm individuals more than expressive ones, even if the calm person says less. The reason is predictability. Others know how you will respond. They do not fear embarrassment, sudden conflict, or emotional swings. You may worry that staying composed will make you seem passive. In practice, it has the opposite effect. Calmness suggests self-control. Self-control suggests reliability. Reliability creates respect. Strong feelings still exist. You simply allow them to move through you before they move through the room. Over time, others begin approaching you differently. They ask for your opinion more. They include you in decisions, not because you demanded authority, but because your reactions remain proportional. People are not only evaluating what you think, they are evaluating how safe it feels to think around you. When your emotional responses become steady, your presence becomes steady. And when your presence is steady, others naturally place more weight on your words. You did not become more important. You became more predictable, and predictability is one of the quiet foundations of trust. There is a person most people quietly rely on. They are not always the most talented. They may not have the strongest opinions or the most creative ideas. Yet when a project begins, when a meeting is scheduled, or when something important must be done, people feel calmer if this person is involved. The reason is simple. They show up when they say they will. You have probably experienced the opposite as well. Someone impressive, intelligent, even charismatic, but unpredictable. They arrive late. They forget small agreements. They respond to messages inconsistently. Nothing they do is catastrophic, but each small uncertainty creates a tiny amount of tension. Over time, others stop depending on them, even if they admire their abilities. Respect grows from reliability long before it grows from talent. The human brain constantly predicts the future. In social relationships, this prediction becomes trust. When behavior is consistent, the mind relaxes. It no longer needs to prepare for disappointment. Reliability signals that the environment is stable. In Japan, punctuality carries a deeper meaning than simple timekeeping. Trains are known to apologize publicly even for very small delays. The issue is not only efficiency, it is consideration. Being on time communicates that your presence does not create inconvenience for others. Arriving late, even unintentionally, forces others to adjust their expectations. They wait, they wonder, they reorganize their attention. Each time this happens, a subtle message is sent. Interaction with this person requires extra mental effort. You can begin with a small change. Aim to arrive 5 minutes early instead of exactly on time. Those minutes are not wasted. They remove uncertainty from the other person's experience. The same applies to communication. When you cannot complete something, say so clearly and calmly. When you promise to respond, respond within the time you suggested. You are not trying to appear perfect. You are removing guesswork. Over time, people start trusting your words more than your explanations. If you say you will do something, they assume it will happen. That assumption is the beginning of respect. Interestingly, reliability often matters more than brilliance. A person who performs consistently is preferred over one who performs exceptionally but unpredictably. Stability lowers cognitive load for others. They do not need to monitor you. You may feel that small actions like punctuality are minor details. Socially, they are powerful signals. They tell others you understand shared time, shared effort, and shared expectations. No speeches are required. When your behavior matches your words repeatedly, your presence becomes reassuring. People include you in plans without hesitation. They consult you because your responses are dependable. You are not asking them to respect you. You are quietly making it easy for them to rely on you. And when reliance becomes effortless, respect often follows without discussion. Before anyone hears you speak, they have already formed an impression. It happens quickly and almost entirely without awareness. You enter a room, sit at a table, place your bag down, open your laptop, or stand in a line. No one is consciously judging you in a harsh way, yet their brains are collecting small visual signals and organizing them into a prediction. Is this person careful or careless? Attentive or distracted? Stable or chaotic? You may believe people should wait to understand your personality first, but the human mind prefers shortcuts. Visual order becomes a substitute for internal order. If a workspace is scattered with objects, cables tangled, papers overlapping, and items half-used, the brain reads unpredictability. Not because clutter is morally wrong, but because it requires constant interpretation. Each object competes for attention. The observer unconsciously assumes the same mental state exists internally. In Japan, students commonly participate in cleaning their own classrooms. Offices and public spaces are often maintained with shared responsibility. The purpose is not only hygiene. It reinforces awareness of surroundings and respect for shared environments. Order communicates consideration. When people see a tidy desk, simple clothing, and deliberate placement of belongings, their nervous systems relax slightly. They feel fewer signals to process. The mind interprets this as composure. Composure becomes credibility. You do not need perfection. You do not need minimalism as an aesthetic. You only need clarity. You can begin with one small habit. At the end of your day, spend 2 minutes returning your space to a neutral state. Close the laptop neatly. Align the chair. Put away loose items. Tomorrow morning, you and anyone else who enters will experience a subtle calm before any conversation begins. Clothing works similarly. Clean, simple, and consistent attire communicates predictability. Others do not need to decode your intention. They feel oriented around you. This does not mean style has no place. It means excessive visual noise creates distance. Simplicity reduces interpretation. People often trust someone whose environment appears organized even before understanding their abilities. Their brain has already concluded. This person manages details. You are not manipulating perception. You are reducing friction in the interaction. When your external world looks stable, others expect your internal responses to be stable too. They speak more directly, listen more patiently, and hesitate less when including you in responsibility. Respect rarely begins with your words. It begins with whether your presence feels orderly enough that others do not have to prepare for unpredictability. You are not trying to impress anyone. You are quietly making it easier for others to relax around you. There is a moment in conversation where people often lose respect without realizing it. It happens when they begin explaining too much. Someone asks a simple question, and instead of a clear answer, they offer a long justification. They describe every step of their reasoning to defend their decision, add background details, and continue speaking even after the point is understood. The intention is usually good. They want to be clear, responsible, or accepted. Yet the emotional effect becomes the opposite. Over-explaining quietly signals uncertainty. When a person repeatedly justifies themselves, the listener senses that the speaker is trying to secure approval. The brain interprets this as a lack of internal confidence, not arrogance versus humility, but steadiness versus seeking reassurance. In many Japanese social interactions, humility is expressed through restraint rather than self-criticism. People do not constantly advertise their achievements, nor do they heavily defend ordinary decisions. Information is offered simply and proportionally. The listener fills the rest naturally. This does not mean saying less to appear mysterious. It means allowing your actions to stand without excessive commentary. You can practice this gently. When someone asks what you did, answer briefly. When you make a decision, state it calmly instead of explaining every possibility you considered. When you make a small mistake, acknowledge it once and move on rather than repeatedly apologizing. Short responses feel grounded. Long defenses feel unstable. Similarly, humility does not require minimizing yourself. You do not need to deny compliments or criticize your own abilities. Accept acknowledgement with a simple thank you. Then let the conversation continue. By doing so, you show comfort with both success and imperfection. People respect those who appear at ease with their position. Not dominant, not self-important, simply settled. When your words are proportionate, others assume your internal state is proportionate as well. You may worry that speaking briefly will make others misunderstand you. In reality, most people understand more than you think. Over-clarifying often creates confusion, not clarity, because it shifts focus from the message to your need for validation. Quiet confidence is not loud. It is not performative. It is the absence of constant explanation. Over time, you may notice others stop questioning your decisions as often. They ask fewer follow-up doubts, not because you asserted authority, but because your communication now feels complete. You are no longer persuading people to believe you. You are allowing them to experience your steadiness directly. And steadiness is one of the signals the mind interprets as quiet strength. Sometimes you meet someone who seems to understand the situation before anyone explains it. They do not speak first, yet when they finally do, their words fit perfectly. They notice when a conversation becomes tense and gently shift the topic. They sense when a person feels uncomfortable and give them space. No one teaches them directly what to say, yet they rarely create awkwardness. You may think they are naturally socially gifted. In reality, they are paying attention to something subtle. They are reading the atmosphere. In Japanese, there is an expression often translated as reading the air. It refers to observing context, tone, timing, group energy before acting. The focus is not on asserting oneself, but on understanding how one's behavior affects the shared space. Many people approach interactions by planning what they want to express. They concentrate on their opinion, their humor, their story. But social respect often grows from awareness rather than expression. Before speaking, you can pause and look around. Who has not spoken yet? Does the group feel serious or relaxed? Is someone uncomfortable? This small observation changes how your words land. If the room is quiet, softer speech fits better than enthusiasm. If someone is explaining something important, adding jokes may interrupt emotional flow. When you adjust naturally, others feel considered. You do not disappear in the process. You become appropriate. Consideration is powerful because it reduces social tension. People feel you are not competing with them. You are cooperating with the moment. The brain interprets this as safety. Safety becomes appreciation, and appreciation becomes respect. You can try one small shift. Speak slightly less than you normally would. Not silence, but space. Allow others to finish and respond to what is actually happening rather than what you planned to say beforehand. At first you may feel less noticeable, but gradually something different appears. People begin inviting your opinion directly. They look toward you when decisions are needed. Because you do not rush to speak, your words feel intentional. You were never required to dominate a room to be valued within it. When others feel comfortable around you, they naturally include you. You become the person who stabilizes interaction rather than intensifies it. You do not need to become the strongest presence. You only need to become the most reassuring one. Respect is rarely forced. It grows quietly where people feel understood without being analyzed and supported without being controlled. And often, the most respected person is simply the one who notices others before being noticed themselves.